Hey everybody, how are you doing tonight? I am here with another video for you, and I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this particular topic. And lately, I have been thinking about the question of, if I were queen for a day, what would I do? I remember a video or so ago, I talked to you all about dreaming and taking the time to just sit quiet, sit still in a place, and just think about what you would be doing if there were no limitations, no hindrances, no limits. What is it that you would be doing? And I thought that I would share with you a couple of things, maybe one thing that's on my list. I have been very fortunate to have a lot of skills. I've been told to not focus so much on having ADD, or excuse me, having ADHD or being neurodivergent. But the reality of it is that I have been diagnosed, and I don't like to say it's a mild case, but at the end of the day, I can relate. It explains a lot of different things about how I respond and react, and some of the characteristics of those of us that have it. The point is that having it means that I'm very creative. And I can see instances of that in my life from an early age, even to now. I have the knack to do some of the oddest things that for the rest of the world, it's just like, so you can be an engineer and be 0 and 1 and analytical, but you can also be creative. You're an extrovert, you have the capability to speak to people and not be afraid, but you also have the capacity to be in the background. It's a very interesting juxtaposition. The the thing that I love about myself is that I'm learning to not put limits on the things that I can do. So here goes. One of the talents that I have is writing. And once upon a time, I wrote a book of poetry, and I was in undergrad, and I was actually published in Black Entertainment TV. They had a magazine called Young Sisters and Brothers, and I entered a poem that was actually published in a national, I believe it was national, in a magazine. And I have a copy here somewhere in a box and some carton. And it was called More. And I was going through a time of identity challenges. I'm a plus size woman and have always been plus size since I can remember. At 15, I looked like I was 21, just developed and tall on top of that. And just through just life, just my weight fluctuated. And by the time I got to college, I was, a large girl. I was tall. I love to say that I was always the largest friend in the group, but I was cool. And even saying it the way that I just said it, I don't like the way that I said it because I put a but in there. At the end of the day, that's where I was at the time. And being big, I dealt with all the jokes, all of the, teasing and stuff at a young age. And it developed an outer layer of defense. And it also allowed me to enhance my tongue. So if you came at me, you needed to just prepare. And it wasn't necessarily me cussing you out or anything. I was just very witty. I was just like, oh, you're gonna pick on me, but I had a zinger waiting for you. And that was just part of the the tone of the day. Especially, I'm a 70s girl, but this was probably 90s where rap was out, and being lyrically quick and being able to put them those metaphors and those similes and all of those things together so you can quickly remind people of who you are was very, very, very prominent. My point is that the poem called More was about my body, which is me, is more. Me that they don't see, um, a mind full of ideas, ready to, just 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 do a lot of great things. I'm thinking of the words right now off of my dome. Ignored simply because my body, which is me, is more. So every stanza ended with the word more, and it wasn't a long poem, but I tell you, BET thought it was important enough to put it in their magazine, Young Sisters and Brothers. And so that is one thing that I have in my arsenal of gifts and creativity. Why am I sharing that with you? Because if I were a queen for a day, I would put a stop to going to work and I would write a book. I would actually write a book. Not sure if it would be fiction or nonfiction, but I would definitely write more than what I do now. And most of what I write now is um, my devotionals. I do have a journal. I actually, after that, in my senior year, had a friend of mine, this guy friend that I was hanging out with before I went to grad school. I wrote a book of poetry because he was a rapper. And we just creatively and lyrically, like, I ended up writing a book of poetry that I published. And I found it somewhere, and I don't know where it is, but those those gifts and those things that we forget that we have, that we kind of tuck away because we grown and we have, grown people responsibilities. I remember that. And it is really cool because I just got to share this. I remember getting the magazine in the mail because I subscribed to it, and it was just another magazine. I submitted it and forgot about it because, again, I'm majoring in chemistry, so I'm going to class. I'm living my college life, and I opened the magazine to read it on a weekend, when I had some free time, and I come upon my poem. Let me tell you, I went and bought as many copies as I could. I told my mom, I told my instrument. I ran down the hallway. I'll never forget it, screaming and showing my friends and showing anybody that would listen. And I ain't gonna lie to you, they didn't care. They were like, "Oh, that's cool." Back to what we were doing. And the reason that I share the news and the reaction is because I think that's how we think about our gifts that we have. We're like, I can do this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that, and nobody cares. But I'm here to tell you that your creative gifts, whatever your gifts are, even if it's not being creative or writing, I don't want you to shrug it off. And when you sit down and actually think about what it is that you could be doing if you weren't encumbered with the responsibilities of the day and of your life, you would probably be advancing and soaring in that area of your gifting. So I shared mine. I shared that I write poetry, or I wrote poetry. I haven't written any poetry lately, but I do write. I write the descriptions on my YouTube videos, and I write the content for my social media. I write the content for the workshops that I do. I have an outline for the girls, and I make it a point to not talk to them like they're 50, to talk to them like they're teenagers so that I understand them and they understand me. So while I'm not publishing a book and while I'm not on the poetry circuit, which is definitely not something that I am interested in, I acknowledge that that is an area of my life where I was blessed to be gifted and acknowledged in a national magazine. So, what y'all got going on? I want to know, what is it? What secret gift are you hiding that you have forgotten about, that life has just, kind of gotten you away from exercising that muscle, that thing that brings you joy, that brings other people joy, that folks don't know about, please put it in the comments. I would love to know. Poetry is one of mine. And now, you know. Okay. So I hope that you share that with us so that we can all admire you from a distance and cheer you on as well in the event you get an opportunity to go back to that gift. Okay. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.